What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, I don't know what's gotten into Microsoft, but every day this week, they've made announcement after announcement after announcement for Xbox Game Pass, and yesterday was no different after they unveiled several new titles heading to the service, one of which was a console exclusive for the Nintendo Switch. We're going to talk about that here today. Also, we're going to talk about a recent sales spike around the PlayStation 5 in the UK sales charts, as there was a restock, and it also worked to push tons of software off of store shelves. And we're also going to talk about a message that's very strange, popped up on the Xbox Series X when one of those newer headsets was plugged in, that could point to Microsoft, the Xbox, and VR. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new to the small channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with GTA Online. It's a game that is super popular, has worked to push GTA 5 out as one of the best-selling games of all time. But one thing people notice when they start the game up, it takes a long time. Even on PC with these super fast SSDs, it takes several minutes just to get into the game, as opposed to what we're used to now, which are several seconds maybe to start up a game. Well, it got to the point where one player took matters into their own hands and developed a patch that cut down substantially on that initial load times, up to 70%, according to them. So much so that Rockstar took notice and implemented the patch themselves. This is what they had to say. After a thorough investigation, we can confirm that Player Toast did in fact reveal an aspect of the game code related to load times for the PC version of GTA Online that could be improved. As a result of these investigations, we have made some changes that will be implemented in a forthcoming title update. And that update is actually available now, and people have run some tests and comparisons on YouTube, and yes, it is much faster now, which is really cool to see that, and it's kind of a happy ending here for this, because we always hear about DMCA takedowns and all this stuff for different modifications and patches. No, instead, Rockstar actually paid Toast $10,000 for the patch through their bounty program that's generally designed for bugs around security. They made an exception here because this was such a good patch that really improved the game, so good stuff there. Also, we just talked recently about Super Bomberman R Online being rated for PC, which bit of a sigh of relief there, because that means it wasn't going to be left on Stadia, which could go away at any time, let's be honest. It looks like, though, Super Bomberman R Online is also going to be heading to consoles as well. We can see the announcements here, this on Konami's website, saying, building on the success of its initial launch on Stadia in September 2020, Super Bomberman R Online is making its way to new platforms. This digital download exclusive game will be available in 2021 on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Steam. The game will also be playable on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. With cross-platform play support, you can play against players from all over the world, regardless of the gaming platform you play on. So we'll see more information about this, I'm sure, roll out over the next month or two. I'm hoping this game gets out in the first half of this year, so by summer, but cross-platform play is a great idea. Since this is a 64-player online game, you want as many people as you can to be able to link up and play to make sure that online community doesn't like die off. But really cool to see this going to other platforms outside of Stadia, because like I said, you never know when that's gonna go away. Oh, and here was a bit of a surprising announcement, a bit of a nostalgia here with Tiger Woods' PGA Tour. Do you remember these games back in the day? I mean, I guess in 2013 was the last one we had, but I remember playing it on like the GameCube and then playing it on the Wii. Well, it looks like 2K has reached a new agreement with Tiger Woods to bring him back as, I guess, the cover athlete for it. That would be Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2K22 is what I assume is going to happen here. Heading over to Game Informer, where they had the story. This saying in a recently emailed press release, 2K, known for its NBA 2K series as well as its WWE franchise, has agreed to a long-term deal with legendary golf player Tiger Woods. Additionally, 2K moved to acquire HB Studios, the private development team behind PGA Tour 2K21, as well as the golf club. The acquisition of HB Studios is expected to close at some point during the first quarter of this year. So HB Studios is pretty good at making these golf games, but they've been missing the cover athlete. Really, the person you put on the front that works to sell the game. And I mean, people would walk in all the time back in the day and just say, I want the new Tiger Woods golf game. And that would really work to sell. I would say 70 to 80% of the games is because Tiger Woods' name was on it and he was the cover athlete and all of this. So this is good to bring him in with the quality work that HB Studios is doing. I think it's a good matchup overall, and I assume we're going to have Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2K22 later on this year in like August or September. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Xbox Game Pass and several games that'll be heading to the service this week and then next week. Let's go to the card here that shows all the titles as we go over the different platforms that they have been announced for and the different dates. So starting at the top, we already talked about Undertale. That's available now. You can go check that one out. And then going to March 18th, we have Empire of Sin, that is cloud, console, and PC. We have Nier Automata, that's going to PC. It's already available on Xbox, has been for a while, but good to see them also drop it on PC there. Star Wars Squadrons, that's for console, that's EA Play. I would like to see them talk more about the PC version of EA Play on Game Pass, though. They've kind of forgotten about that a little bit, so here's hoping they have a bit more to say about that one. And then Torchlight 3 heading to PC here. Moving up to March 25th, there's Genesis Noir, that's console and PC. Octopath Traveler, that's console and PC. Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire Ultimate Edition on PC. Superland, that's PC. And then Yakuza 6, The Song of Life, cloud, console, and PC. Moving up to March 30th, we have Narita Boy, that's cloud, console, and PC. And then wrapping it up April 1st with Outriders on cloud and console. So first of all, it's really cool to see Yakuza 6 head to Game Pass next week. They basically have all the Yakuza games there. You can just get Game Pass and just go all the way through the series. It'll take you like 3 years, but it's still really cool to see all of that there in one spot. But the big one that everyone pointed to, and we're a little surprised to see this announcement, Octopath Traveler. Now, it's been available on other platforms, but not on other consoles. It was on PC, and it was on Stadia, and they had some on cell phones as well. But I know a lot of people talk about the PC version and Stadia, though, alongside of that Switch version of the game, but going to Xbox is surprising for a few reasons. One, that means I guess whatever deal Nintendo and Square had ran out, and Microsoft came in and most likely put some money on the table because it's going to be debuting in the Game Pass. And the other weird thing is it's going to Xbox before it goes to PlayStation. That's a bit surprising. We've heard Phil Spencer mention he's trying more and more to push any kind of presence into Japan. And I guess here he's saying, yeah, let's get some of these Japanese developers' games onto the platform here through Game Pass. And here he is talking with Square, trying to get some of these games onto the platform. Final Fantasy's all over the place there, and then also to bring Octopath Traveler. I mean, it's a good move. I like to see Octopath Traveler be tried by more and more people, and the fact that it's on Game Pass means people will be more willing to take a chance on it that they may not have otherwise. I mean, some people may look at that and say, do I really want to buy this for $60? I don't know. Whereas now they'll be like, yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and press this download button. I mean, I figure at this point, if you were on the Switch and you wanted to play it, you probably would have by now. It's been out for literally years on the Switch, so why not have other people try this game out and, of course, give Square more confidence in their HD 2D genre that they've essentially created here. We have Project Triangle Strategy coming up next year, and I really like the idea of what they're going here, kind of that old school idea with these JRPGs, but trying to put the new school flair on the visuals, and it's cool stuff. So if you have not tried out Octopath Traveler and you see it on Game Pass, give it a try and see what you think. I think you will enjoy it. It's out next week, so here's hoping more and more people get a chance to check out what Octopath Traveler is all about. Next up, let's talk about the UK sales charts and the PlayStation 5 actually seeing a restock. Now, whenever this seems to happen, especially in the UK, we can tell because a lot of the games will move up the charts very aggressively. Like, they will jump several places and they'll sell 30, 40, 50% more on the PlayStation 5 side of things. But let's head over here to the sales charts. We can see at the top, yeah, that's right, that's Spider-Man Miles Morales. That game came out 4 months ago now, and it's hit the #1 spot on the charts with this PlayStation 5 restock, actually beating out Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury that I believe was on the top of the sales charts for the past 3 to 4 weeks now. Then we have Animal Crossing New Horizons, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Minecraft on the Switch, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Grand Theft Auto 5, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, and Ring Fit Adventure. Keep in mind, these are all physical copies of the games that are being sold over the counter at retail establishments. Now, for Spider-Man Miles Morales, 90% of those were on the PlayStation 5. It actually increased 36% week on week as more of the PlayStation 5 systems became available, but also third parties as well, including Immortals Phoenix Rising jumping 52%, Mortal Kombat 11 jumping 203%, and even if you had taken out any of the PS4 copies, it would have still topped the charts at #1, which is interesting because I don't think the game's price has dropped at all. In fact, in the UK, if anyone's over there, let me know in the comments. I'm pretty sure this game is technically like $90 in terms of USD. So I'm sitting here complaining about $70 games, and people in the UK and parts of Europe are dealing with much more in terms of price around these games. So it is showing to a degree that Sony's plan to move these games up in terms of pricing hasn't really affected their sales overall. It's more or less they can't get these systems out, because whenever they do, we see the sales volume skyrocket around these games, even though they are more expensive this generation. Next up, let's talk about an interesting message that popped up for the Xbox headset when it was plugged in by IGN Italy as they were testing it for the Series X. Now, the headset came out yesterday. I actually looked around for it a little bit in my local area, like Best Buy and Target, and no one seemed to have it, so I'll find one eventually. But apparently you can do things like update the firmware and things with the headset, much like you would with a controller. However, when they plugged it in, they had this screen here. And according to Video Games Chronicle, it reads, "The VR headset needs to be updated." So obviously this is strange, because the only times we've heard Phil Spencer talk about VR is generally in a negative light, one that they're just not that interested in doing for the Xbox, which is kind of a shame, by the way, because I feel like they could pursue it in a different way that Sony is. Sony is doing everything in-house. They're building the headset and working with developers. I almost feel like Microsoft could say, you know what, the HTC Vive, we'll just develop drivers and that'll work, or the Valve Index. Essentially, Microsoft wouldn't have to develop the headset, but they would just provide support for it, and that would allow third parties to show up with their VR games, and there's something they could probably do. But it looks like, unfortunately for this message, it's not actually pointing to much when it comes to VR and Microsoft. We can see this tweet here from Stephen Tottilio with one from Xbox PR saying, "The copy in this error message is inaccurate due to a localization bug. VR for console is not a focus for us at this time." So there we have it. Unfortunately, it looks like that headset, when it was plugged in, there was a localization issue or something. Somehow it ended up translating over to VR. It certainly had the internet very interested there for, I'd say, the afternoon, wondering if, did they accidentally trigger something with this new accessory that is bringing up a VR message? Could be talking about Microsoft shifting some stuff around in the firmware. Well, at least according to Xbox PR, not quite, but you never know. Maybe they deal with something like mixed reality where they have those headsets. I would like to see Microsoft do something in virtual reality, just to help kind of push things along with that sector, kind of like what Sony's doing. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a new studio announcement that Sony made over on Twitter. And it's interesting because we just talked about Jade Raymond leaving Google Stadia. Remember, they shut down the first-party studios, Jade Raymond left, and it was like, oh, I wonder what she's gonna do. Apparently, she's forming a new studio and is going to create a new IP alongside of Sony. We can see this here, this from PlayStation on Twitter. Jade Raymond introduces Haven, a new Montreal-based game development studio working on an original new IP for PlayStation. So first of all, that was fast. like I said, we just talked about Stadia basically shutting down the first parties, and here's Jade Raymond now. New studio called Haven working on a new IP with Sony. And I guess it appears Sony is funding all of this and setting all this up with her. And I hope this means that she will be able to put a game out, because the past couple projects haven't been great. Past couple locations, we had EA, and she was in charge of the Visceral Star Wars game, and nothing ever happened with that. I think that was just basically canceled at that point. Then she went to Google Stadia and their first-party studios, and that's gone now. So maybe this is finally her chance to really break out here with a new IP alongside of Sony. Maybe she can help with some of those other studios around her at studio. Tons of talent there as they work alongside to get a new game done. I assume we're not going to see this for a while, since they just made the announcement and Haven was just formed after she left Stadia, but something to certainly keep an eye on here. I mean, she's done projects before in the past. She worked at Ubisoft, of course, for a while there and shipped all kinds of games with them, but just recently hasn't been great. So maybe this is a good turning point for her to release a big game as we go along with the PlayStation 5. Before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, will Game Pass ever release on a PlayStation or Nintendo system? 32% of you said yes, whereas 68% of you said no. And that is something that a lot of people don't believe would ever happen. How would it make sense for Game Pass to go to the Switch, or how would it make sense to go to the PlayStation? Well, believe it or not, there were rumors and talks that Microsoft had kind of approached Sony about this. And the only way I see this actually working, which again sounds strange, is if it was just Microsoft's first party titles being on Game Pass on the PlayStation. It'd be really weird to think about that, wouldn't it? Because then Microsoft would probably make them work natively, but you'd have to have that Game Pass subscription. And it would work well for Microsoft, but how would Sony benefit from that? Because I guess they would get a cut of any subscriptions that were made through the PlayStation, but still, then people might be just playing Xbox games on the PlayStation, not necessarily buying games from Sony. Maybe Microsoft's grand scheme is to collect so many studios and so many third-party deals that Sony wouldn't have any choice but to do that. It's something to keep an eye on over the next, I'm gonna say, 10 years maybe. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Technology Addict saying, seriously, old 3D Sonic games would thrive on Switch. I'd love to play Sonic Unleashed or Generations on Switch. I believe the one thing they probably could have done, and maybe they still will, to buy time until the next 3D Sonic game is ready, is release a 3D Sonic collection. They did the 2D Sonic collection, which was like their Mega Plus game back on the Xbox, the PS2, and the GameCube. Now is a great time, I think, to release a 3D Sonic collection with like Adventure 1, Adventure 2, maybe Sonic Heroes. Throw Sonic Shuffle in there, why not? Do something weird like that. But that would probably do well enough, at least up to expectation, as they work towards what I can only hope to be a 3D Sonic game that just won't be made fun of constantly online. Either way though, I think that's a great idea for Sega to pursue and have that put out there on all platforms. But it's Sega, so it probably won't happen. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. There's all these Xbox Game Pass announcements. Like every day this week, it's been announcement after announcement. And were you surprised to see Octopath Traveler heading to a console other than the Switch next week, debuting on Game Pass? Let me know about that down below. Also, what about this Xbox headset? Were you able to find one? And do you think Microsoft will ever do anything with virtual reality and their Xbox console? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.